Hiya, welcome to Darren in the studio. Thanks for swinging by for another video. First of all, again, and it seems like I'm doing this on every single video, I wanted to thank all the new subscribers for all their sort of comments and likes and all that kind of stuff. And just as a quick reminder, if you like what you see in this video, please do leave a comment at the bottom and also give the video a thumbs up, because it really helps the channel along. I don't get paid at all for doing this particular channel. I just do it for the love of doing videos and also chatting to you. So like I say, if you like what you see, do us a favor. Now then, what are we talking about this time? Well, September happens to be the month of my birthday, and by the time you get to see this video, it will probably be my birthday. I'm going to upload it the night before my birthday UK time, okay? So it'll probably be my birthday by the time you get to see this. So I figured what I'd do is, I thought I'd look at albums within my collection that came out in the year that I was born, and that would be 1969. See, giving away my age a little bit there. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, hang on a minute, how can possibly this guy have been born back in 1969? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking more like 89. What do you mean more like 59? Cheeky. Anyway, we're looking at 1969. Now, as always with my videos, you know, I like to choose 10. I think 10's a nice little round number to work with when we're looking at albums and stuff like that. And that's what I've done in this. I've chosen 10 albums that were released in 1969, that being the year I was born. But there's a bonus album, and that album will be revealed at the end of the video, okay? And you'll get why I've included it. So it's 10 albums plus a bonus album, all right? So the first of the 10 albums released in the year that I was born in my collection, we're going to start off at B. These are all in alphabetical order by the artist or band. We're looking at the Beatles, of course. This is Abbey Road. This is part of the remastered collection. I think the remasters were, 2009, this remaster. And then it came out again in 2012. This is the 2012 version. I'm really liking the remastered versions of the Beatles album. I don't have all of the Beatles albums, I've got to be honest. But I've got a fair few of them, and this is an album I really like. And I think Revolver's probably my favourite Beatles album. Abbey Road, of course, 1969, with the famous band walking across the pedestrian crossing there outside of Abbey Road Studios. The first of 10 albums in my collection released in 1969, that being the year I was born. The Beatles, Abbey Road. Next, it's another Beatles album which was released in 1969, and it's a kind of quirky one. You know this one, of course, it's Yellow Submarine. I'm not sure which came out first, this one or Abbey Road. I should have checked, really. I think Abbey Road came out after Yellow Submarine. Of course, side 1 is the Beatles, and side 2 is the original film score composed by and orchestrated by George Martin. This is part of, I don't know if you remember, certainly here in the UK, the Beatles released their albums, or EMI Records, Apple Records released the Beatles albums as part of a magazine, and you got a magazine and the album with it, and I think they retailed for about 25 quid, which is not too bad for modern day prices of records. And within this, you get a reproduction of the original inner sleeve, like that. You also get, of course, the record itself. This is on 180 gram vinyl, but you also got with it this nice little book, and these were put out through the, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, the D. Agostini publication people. This was number 7 in the collection. The next one was going to be the Beatles for Sale. I would have liked, I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, I really would have liked to have picked up all of these Beatles albums with these special edition magazines, because they would have been a really nice collection, and also they weren't stupid money. And I'm guessing that, you know, they're sort of going on auction sites, probably going on auction sites now for silly money, you know. But there you go, the Beatles second album. These are in no particular order, I've not ranked them or anything like that. Second album in my collection of 10 from 1969, the year I was born. Next up, we're staying with B, although some people might list this under C. And this is an album I was actually gifted not that long ago. And I played it and I almost gave it away. I almost put it into my gonna give that away section. But I persevered with it, and I quite like it now for its quirkiness. You probably know the album I'm talking about. This is Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band. This is Trout Mask Replica, which is not easy to say with these teeth. I think this is a early 70s repress of it. Yes, this is a 1975 repress, but this album originally came out in 1969. It's on the Reprise label, not Reprise. Reprise. Captain Beefheart, Trout Mask Replica. This is one of those albums. You either like it or you don't. Which is a weird thing to say after the fact that I've just said that at first I was going to give it away, but I've kept it. And the person that gifted me this also gifted me a ton of other records, and there was about 5 or 6 Captain Beefheart albums in there, and I've kept all of them because he was just so unique as a performer. Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band, Trout Mask Replica, another album released in the year I was born. Next up, one of my favourites, and this really is one of the classic live albums, one of the most classic live albums of all time. This is Johnny Cash live at San Quentin prison. A lot of people think that Johnny Cash ended up in prison for crimes and things like that, but he didn't. He did end up in some jails overnight early on in his career, but he played the prison circuit quite a bit because he kind of felt for the people that were in there, you know. Live at San Quentin. This is an original 1969 UK press on the CBS label. I'll show you the label on the orange CBS. Plays okay. I've also got this on CD, and the CD is an expanded version of it. I think there's about 5 or 6 extra tracks. It's up there somewhere. Johnny Cash recorded live at San Quentin, another fabulous album that came out in 1969. Next up, my hero, really, or one of my heroes, the very first album from the Alice Cooper group. And this is an album I just can't get on with. it's just an album I can't listen to this album from beginning to end and enjoy it. I really can't. I kind of like some of the songs. Apple Bush is great on this. Levity Ball is good as well. Of course, I'm talking about Pretty's for You, 1969. This was the album that came out on Frank Zappa's Straight label. First album from the Alice Cooper group. There they all are on the back. This is a nice little Canadian import. No, sorry, I'm wrong. An American import. Even got the import thing there, which I put inside there. Alice Cooper's Pretty's for You, 1969. Like I say, Apple Bush is quite a nice little record. But apart from that and the Levity Ball track, like I say, this is not an album I really get along with. But I've included it because Alice Cooper is so much a big part of my life and continues to be so. So I included it on my 10 albums that were released in the year I was born, 1969. Next up, a real classic debut, probably one of the greatest debut albums of all time. And this is a nice little original 1969 pressing of the very first Led Zeppelin album on the Atlantic label, 1969. John Bonham, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones. Of course, this has got so many great tracks on it. Good Times, Bad Times, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Dazed and Confused, Your Time Is Gonna Come, Black Mountainside, I Can't Quit You Baby. It's just great track after track. Like I say, this is an original Atlantic 1969 pressing. I'm after another copy of this because unfortunately an ex-partner of mine decided she was going to put a massive scratch on side 1. Look after your records when you start splitting up from people, right? 1969 Led Zeppelin, number 1. Next up, we're sticking with Led Zeppelin, and of course, their second album of 1969 was their second album, Led Zeppelin 2. I think, again, this is an early 70s repress, 1971, this repress. But it's a nice original 1971. Originally came out, like I say, in 1969. Again, another album which is just got classic after classic. Whole Lot of Love, the Lemon Song, Heartbreaker, Ramble On, Moby Dick's on here, which has got a great drum solo by John Bonham on it. Produced by Jimmy Page, engineered by Eddie Kramer, who did a lot of stuff with Kiss early on. Led Zeppelin on the Atlantic label, 2 from 1969. Next up, from the year I was born, another one of my favourites, and probably, I don't know how many albums this guy had out in 1969. This might have been the only one. Someone will let me know. This is Elvis, and it's Elvis from Memphis. From Elvis in Memphis. This is a nice little RCA Camden Victor. Oh, is it Camden or just Victor? No, it's RCA Victor. Of course, a lot of Elvis stuff came out on the Camden label here in the UK, which was like a budget label of RCA's, but this isn't. This is a nice little original RCA Victor one. This is a UK pressing. I think this is on the Orange label, so this probably didn't originate in 1969 as a pressing, but actually it looks like it's never been played. It's absolutely a mint condition. Beautiful album. Good songs on this. I do love a bit of Elvis. I really do. Been an Elvis fan for many, many years now. Wearing That Loved On look. This album's got sort of like a, not R&B, but more of a bit of everything really on this album. Long Black Limousine, Gentle on My Mind is on here. In the Ghetto is the last track on this album from Elvis in Memphis, another album from 1969. Next up from 1969, The Rolling Stones. You know this record. It's Let It Bleed. 1969. This is one of the remasters of this album. There's no CD in this, and I'll tell you why there's no CD in it. There's no CD in it because I'm going to be playing a track from this album on one of my radio shows this week. So I've got the CD in my CD wallet. 1969, the Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed, of course. Love in Vain, Midnight Rambler, Gimme Shelter's on here. You Can't Always Get What You Want, which is the track that I'm playing on the radio show. Country Honk is a great track as well. This is the 2002 reissue on the Abtco Records label. I think I'm saying that right. But originally from 1969, the Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed. Next up from 1969, one of my heroes, Mark Bolan. This is Mark's Unicorn album. 1969, Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's Steve Peregrine took with him there. Steve Peregrine took with him there. He was also no longer with us. I do like the early T-Rex stuff. A lot of sort of weird sort of things going on, and I don't think there's any hits as such on this album. I'm trying to look, but I don't think there is. But I do like a lot of his early stuff, like Ride a White Swan and King of the Rumbling Spires and stuff like that. 1969, Tyrannosaurus Rex, T-Rex, and the Unicorn album. This is part of a one of those 5-album CD box sets. Next up, that's number 10. Okay, that is the 10th album from 1969. I did promise you a bonus disc. Okay, so this next album did not come out in 1969. This next album first came out in 1982, and I'd be, what, 13 years old in 1982. But this album was recorded in 1969, and it's very significant. This is Alice Cooper, the original Alice Cooper group, recorded at the Toronto Rock and Roll Revival, 1969. This is a funny, quirky little album, this is. Of course, the first tracks on each side, Ain't That Just Like a Woman and Going to the River, aren't Alice Cooper at all. I did talk about this on a previous video. They're actually a guy called Ronnie Hawkins. And when they came to record Alice Cooper during the Toronto Rock and Roll Revival, they used a tape that already had 2 tracks on it. So they just spooled to the end of the 2 tracks that were already there and started to record the Alice Cooper group after that. And of course, many, many years later, decades later, when the tape resurfaced, a record company bought it and just figured that those 2 tracks must be early demos of Alice Cooper's, and they included it on the album. And and those songs have been included ever since. This recording, if you will, has been released. It's been released under different sort of titles, but this was the very first time it came out. 1982. This is out on the Accord label. I've got a few copies of this. I must do a special video on the Toronto Rock and Roll Revival Alice Cooper recordings. Maybe we'll do that soon. The significance. I hear what you're saying. You're saying, come on, Darren, all right, it was recorded in 1969, but why choose it? I've chosen this because Alice Cooper and the Toronto Rock and Roll Revival 1969 was recorded on the very day of my birthday. It was recorded the day I was born. September the 13th, 1969, this recording was made. So that's why this is our bonus disc, disc number 11, as we look at 1969. Thanks for swinging round. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, do let me know all your views and comments in the bottom. Let me know your favourite albums or some of your albums from 1969. Let me know if there's an album that was recorded or released on the day that you were actually born. That'd be cool, right? Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and don't forget to like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And we look forward to you swinging by for another video right here in the studio. Until that time, look after yourselves, look after each other, and we'll see you soon. Ta-da.